Welcome everybody to the show. This is Counterclip, show number 220 for April 20. I wrote the date down wrong. It's April 28th, 2025. Jesus Christ. You can see I've had a busy day. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody, and thanks for stopping by. Our topic tonight is Wargaming content on YouTube and what people actually like to watch, what they do watch, and what they would like to watch, but there isn't enough of it. So we'll talk about that. And this is not like directed at anybody, but I'll get into all that later on. So we are drinking the Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve bottled at, I believe, 40% indeed. It is perfectly good. I have, nevertheless, despite it being at 40%, I did add a little bit of water to it. This is number 2. Anyway, so I'd like to remind everybody to like the video if you have not done so already. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already. And there's a whole bunch of ways to support the channel down linked in the video description. And a link tree, which I never seem to remember to mention, with all the the individual links to different platforms and stuff like that, that used to clutter up the entire video description. It's all in the link tree now. So, let me throw the Discord link to the Ardwulf Discord community into the video description. So go ahead and join on up. There's some interesting things that are afoot with that. And it's a good community overall. So once again, we'd like to thank our official sponsor at Noble Knight Games, from whom we will hear later on, as well as the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, without whose support and encouragement we would not be able to keep doing this. And a particularly big shout out goes out to Robert Meyer. Thank you, Robert, for signing up at the swordsman level. So big shout out to Robert, and that's all in the ticker. So, all right. We do have a little bit of news, and it's not like news, it's like channel news. So, and Gary news, I suppose. So I had planned to run a May Day event of Classic Traveler on Thursday, May 1st, to celebrate May Day, which is like the official Traveler holiday, just because of the old boxes, all that stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to make Thursday, unfortunately. There's just been too much going on. And Thursday is not an optimal night for me anyway, but there is a ray of sunshine in this bad news. I will be running it in a couple of weeks, and I am prepared, if necessary, to run it more than once, which means that folks who are going to end up signing up for that are going to have more slots available. I anticipate being able to fill 2 games, to be honest. We'll see what happens. Patrons will be given priority in such slots, so they will get the first piece of notification. And then next week, I will open up, on this show, I will open up the call to other participants who would like to participate. Am I getting these right? And I am clipping, by the way, SPI's 30 Years War Quad, because I got to have it punched and clipped and organized by Wednesday, when I will be dropping it off at Buckeye Game Fest. I'm not going to be able to stay, unfortunately, but I will drop in, say hello to a bunch of people, hopefully not get COVID in the 20 minutes I will be there, and drop a couple of things off to a couple of different people. Those people know who they are. So, right. So before we go any further, however, let me switch over here and let's say hello to Bayonet, Brant, Bill Simone, Bob Meyer. Robert, thanks for joining. Chad Kennedy, Christoph DeClerc, Daniel Silverthorne, Danny Seckery, David Zell, DJ Flippy, Dustin Mitchell, E.L., Ed Meister, Egret, Eric Goebel, Groucho Marks, Henry Hartman, HUN644, the legend himself, fucker, was here. James Whitmer, Jeff Anderson, Jeff Edwards, Joe Hammond, Joe Okabayashi, Joe Mentum, John Longshore is in the house. Lee Grant, Marty Sample is here. Meandering Mike, Michael Simon, Molotov Cockatiel from Molotov Cockatiel Games. Check them out. Panzer Division Lair, Patrick of Patrick's Tactics and Tutorials. Somebody popped in and I didn't see it. Paul Dangle, Paul Sin, Perry Sparopoulos, Scott Bell, Sean Sullivan, Stacking Limit is here. Stigler is in the house. SW, well, Steve, welcome. Tim Greenhaw, Vicky is here. Vicky, thanks for stopping by once again. Vincery and William Bird and Winterson. So once again, thanks to everybody and apologies to anybody that I missed. So so it's devastating news, but there's an upside, right, in that there will be more slots available for people, and that'll work out. And they will happen in the month of May, too. I'm not putting this out until the fullness of time or anything like that. So I hope not. So HUN644 News was at GMT West 122 in attendance. Gene said he really appreciated the response to his message in the GMT newsletter. Cool. So glad to hear that that event went well. I thought the similar, I'm like, what sport are we talking about? Oh, it's baseball. Yeah, baseball. Yeah, cool. This is awesome. I'm glad to see that that this is moving forward. We'd like to see these games from Ray. So, anyway, Punk Rock Flea Market was this weekend. That sounds interesting. You know, I have, this is not at all related to the topic, but I have recently been watching videos about vinyl. So I'm not, no, you really can't really get a decent turntable. I mean, maybe you can get a used one, but you can't really buy a new decent turntable for less than about $300, and I'm not doing that right now, much less the cost of the vinyl for the sake of the experiment to see if vinyl sounds better than digital. When the consensus is that it doesn't. So it's a relatively expensive aficionado hobby that I will not be getting into at this time. Nevertheless, some of that stuff was pretty interesting. This is a Dynamite. If you're interested in Traveler, this is a Dynamite book. I haven't seen this, so thank you for putting this in the chat. This is a great book. There is a video on the book, an actual review, honestly, of the book, because I read the whole thing before I did the video. So, all right. All right, so what else do we have news-wise? So I do not have a Noble Knight campaign update. Right now, we are still at 61%, where I don't expect to get any news for a couple of weeks. Just because of the timing of the way this all gets, all the accounting gets done. But we will have an update soon. And once this one is completed, we'll have something special as our next campaign that I think everyone will appreciate. And that's going to be a thank you to everybody that comes out every week, too. So, yeah, I saw this, too. There is a big war sale on Steam. So anything that says war in the title or description is pretty much on sale, including a lot of stuff that I would potentially be interested in and don't want to spend the money on at this time, even though they're on sale. So maybe I'll take a browse through the Paradox DLC or something like that. Yes, for those who did not know, this is Free Trader Beowulf book was written by Shannon Appelkline, who is one of the, I would say, premier historians of the RPG hobby. He did the Designers and Dragons series of books, and I believe is working on a new edition of those, which will be very interesting to see. So, high fidelity. Yeah, that's right. So apparently there's a cassette tape a revival going on right now, too. But, you know, these things are about nostalgia as much as anything else, to be completely honest about it. So, otherwise, cassette tapes are not a great format. So, people are talking about skipping 8 tracks and going straight back to reel. Actually, I actually watched a video on that and came away with, well, that was very interesting discussion of this reel-to-reel technology. But no, we will not be getting into that. What a pain that sounds like. Anyway. All right, so what do we have? Oh, so some time ago, an extra unanticipated copy of The Forgotten Battles, the OCS masterpiece from Tony Burkett, came into my possession, and there will, I promised at the time, be a giveaway of it at some future point. I've kind of dragged my feet a little bit on that, but I have actually finally realized as of 20 minutes ago when the perfect time to give that away is going to be. And that is when the Charles S. Roberts Awards are finished for the year at that point. And I expect that to therefore be sometime around Origins or possibly immediately after Origins. We'll see. So we're looking at June or July type of time frame. We should have the ballot open on schedule, which means May. And we should have the awards announced by before Origins is my official target, I suppose. But that's not that is not the official deadline. We will be well ahead of the official deadline at that point. So anyway, all right. You know, we got this weird thing about heroes, right? And you know, me too. Don't be shocked when your personal person that you looked up to turns out to be disappointing in some capacity. They're human too. So not shocking. All right. I'm not sure I've seen this Meandering Mike, actually, to be completely honest. What is going on, and why am I being thinged? It's not important. If it was I guess I should check it to make sure that it isn't important. Sorry about this, folks, for this personal maintenance business. Nope, that was nothing. So that was, in fact, not important. There you go. Brant got to meet John Prados, which I never did. So that is unfortunate. I believe everybody that bought something in the sale should have their stuff by now. So let's hope we can make excellent progress through this not particularly large game this evening. So otherwise, Brant might be getting it handed to him unclipped, which would be unacceptable. So, all right. So I actually, before we get started topically here, I want to actually talk about Math, Fun, and Games, who hopped in. I'm not sure if you're still here, but thanks for the comment. Hope is that market forces will now push companies into producing fewer games, but giving the games it does produce more long-term attention rather than just rush to promoting the latest pre-order. I mean, certainly this is a thing that occurs. I'm not necessarily convinced that it happens as often as some people might surmise inside Wargaming, and certainly there are wargame publishers, and I'm thinking of Multiman in particular right now, that pretty much follows this exact philosophy of producing not necessarily a bazillion games, but the games that they do produce are generally very well done. They're generally free of major problems, and when they do have major problems, which has happened, they have fixed it incredibly promptly. So all right, so let's start talking then about the topic of tonight. So I didn't actually think to count them. I've got basically 7 different kinds of wargaming videos. I'm going to run through that list, and then we'll kind of talk our way through all of that. I have not yet received a shipping notification for By Swords and Bayonets. I would anticipate that will be happening basically anytime. All right, so we've got what I'm going to call the talkie live stream, which is pretty much this show and the Chit Show and a few other shows. The War Room, for example, is a show like this. Shit. I'm going to be embarrassed when I talk to Mo now, the Whiskey Charlie that Mo has on his channel. And these are pretty much just people talking, right? There's no sort of presentational artifice going on here, particularly, at least here. And I really don't think that that's the case with any of the other shows. So you're kind of tuning in to hear a particular person or a particular group of people talk. Thank you, by the way, for doing that here tonight. We've also got a few folks. Nangwaya springs immediately to mind because he did one relatively recently of live play live streams or live play video, right? Where it's kind of like a Callendale type of thing, where it's kind of he is capturing the things that he thought were significant to his experience on camera, and you're getting kind of to see that in a pretty unvarnished way. We've got after action reports, which and I've done all of these things actually. We've got after action reports where you kind of talk your way through the progress of a game. When I've done it, it's usually kind of been in with the historical situation and resolution in mind. This is, pretty much. A lot of people call this a podcast, which okay, cool. I've never really thought of it that way, but we'll see. We've got your unboxings, which I've done hundreds of. We've got your reviews. Now, if it's just like somebody saying, I'm going to review such and such, but I've played it for an hour and a half, and it's a game that takes 40, 50 hours to play, blah, 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 blah. Maybe we don't count that as a review, but we're talking about good reviews by responsible reviewers here. Just looking at the chat. Oh, okay. So Stigler says that By Swords and Bayonets officially ships May 1st, but May 1st is Thursday. I do know this because I had scheduled an event at that time. So, and of course we've got our unboxings, if I didn't mention those already. And then we've got, I guess, what I will call a mechanics spotlight, or maybe some folks like to call these deep dives, but I don't really think that's what they're doing if the video is 6 minutes long. But it's an insight into some particular mechanic or in-game situation, perhaps, that the person making the video finds interesting, right? So with all of that in mind, let's take a look at the chat here. All right, so I'll start with Perfidious Albion. It says that playthroughs are highly valuable. I do feel that I agree with this. If the playthrough is a detailed playthrough where you're seeing not necessarily all the die rolls, but at least most of the die rolls. People who are really good at this include Doug from the Tabletop's Edge. This wasn't supposed to be a channel let's talk about our favorite YouTube channels thing. I kind of wanted to avoid that till the end. But Wargame Ramble does a lot of this kind of stuff as well. Very high quality stuff. Let's see here. Perfidious Albions, and you hear this, and as somebody who's done a lot of unboxing videos, I'm probably a little sensitive to it. That unboxing videos are not generally helpful unless what you are trying to see is like are the components nice? I mean, if that is a concern that you had, or what all do you get in the box? Maybe you can't find a listed list of the contents in the box, which happens sometimes, anywhere on the internet. So, I mean, I can give you more unboxings. They're pretty low. And, that's one reason, to be completely honest, that's one reason why I got so many unboxings, because they're relatively low effort. And I don't have to worry about editing too much. Editing is kind of just a quick pass through to take out any obnoxious farting or anything stupid that happened during the video, like I dropped something, or there was an extended pause while I looked something up, all of which happened. So we cut that out in post, but it's not complicated editing. It just takes about as long as the video takes to watch. All right, so Molotov Cockatiel tends to avoid unboxing, but likes rules, teaches, playthroughs, and reviews. We don't really see. So I would really like it, and this is not like a criticism of the people making wargaming content on YouTube. This is just kind of an organizational quirk of YouTube that doesn't really seem to want to tell us what's a review and what's not, but then we'd have people gaming that system too, I suppose. So on the one hand, what constitutes a review? To me, a proper review is somebody who has played the game enough to understand it, if not necessarily completely, but fairly thoroughly. My issue with stuff like that, it tends to be that those games that I play are games that take a year to play, and by that time, nobody cares anymore. So, and I'm probably out of gas on the thing too at that point. And then you've got, but at the same time, while I have studiously avoided calling videos a review unless they are reviews, I have also had a lot of random people commenting on the comments about, oh, thanks for your helpful review. Like, this wasn't a review, and I don't really want to argue with anybody in the comments about it, but that does happen a lot of the time. So I think maybe the viewing public needs to be more aware of what's really a review and what's not. If it doesn't say review, I would consider it not a review, and maybe even if it does, it might be a bad review. Who knows? But remember, the job of the reviewer is not to agree with you, or your job, I guess, is not to agree with the reviewer. Your job as the viewer is to get insights about whatever it is they're reviewing from the reviewer. And a good reviewer can give you that. Even if they don't end up liking it, it might be something you would like, right? All right. Tim Greenhouse says reviews and first impressions, not just unboxings, but real impressions after a few plays. Again, that's also problematic with monster games. All right. Well, so I think John's probably talking about campaigns in Europe here as the redo of War in Europe. And I do feel like there's been some maybe mixed messages on this product as far as it being a War in Europe thing. And I mean, there is a degree to which it is related to War in Europe, but it has ended up as really kind of its own thing. and not really redo a war in Europe, even if you do have all of the various things for it. So, Doug, thanks for stopping by. Harsh Rules is Ben Harsh is really good. Gimpy does good playthrough video. Tons of people do good content. That's not the point at all. I guess the question, Stacking Limit likes to learn to play videos, and William Bird likes to play through rather than AAR. But understand from the person on the other end of this perspective that the playthrough probably takes considerably more effort to do. Just from the standpoint of video production. Got to find a place to put that where it's not going to fall over. All right. Stacking Limit likes to learn to play videos. Cal Harris says, my unboxing videos have given GMT Compass and MMP some business, which is good for them. That's never really the intention. When I do an unboxing, hopefully, if it's a good unboxing, and I frankly think the viewer can tell if it isn't, I am trying to communicate my enthusiasm for the game. And there have been unboxings where the lack of enthusiasm was noticeable. So, and the good playthrough can be entertaining too, right? I mean, I was like glued to this set for Doug's last Blitzkrieg playthrough, for example. I'm like tapping my foot for World in Flame stuff now. So I'm not sure if this is a good thing or not. That's up to you. You may be one of HON644 Noob, might be one of the few folks that managed to figure it out from the original book. So Joe Green enjoys Aaron Plays. Designer interviews. Well, we've done plenty of those over on the Chit Show. The designer unboxings have been pretty cool. I just there hasn't really been like an opportunity to do that lately. Nathan at Wise Guy History does a great job. Great job. Good guy too. This will totally happen. It's just a matter of me managing to make it work, right? Maybe we'll get Mark on to do Army of the Potomac or something like that whenever that shows up. So Brian Lindsay mentions that the quality of components and maps is important. A good quality unboxing video hopefully does answer those questions. And, there is some value in that to people. If something comes out of the box and feels like unexpected, and, that's weird, like the latest couple of GMT things, actually. Tim Zale. So if like all you do is unboxings, which I have felt like that in the past, and that's, part of the reason for the show topic here tonight. If all you do is unboxings, then I think your content will end up being fairly stale. So that will get stale. Because that relies entirely on the potential viewer being interested in the specific game that you are doing, which they might not be, right? Whereas if you're addressing more general topics, you potentially can get more viewers, potentially, right? And sometimes that happens, and sometimes it doesn't. All right, Ray Musselman, again, how to play, and I acknowledge the high value that how to play videos have. Stigler says that unboxings have value. You can't get a fair review of the game, but anybody who's taking an unboxing as a review is off base, right? But quality issues are important, as we have learned at various times in the last couple of years. Dave, thanks for stopping by. Examples of mechanics, including a list of the DRMs. Were I doing, say, a video on, this would be a very short video potentially, like the OCS combat resolution. I would be obliged to put all that in there, right, as far as where the DRMs are showing up, and this would apply to other types of specific mechanic type of thing. You don't necessarily have to list them if there's like dozens of them, but you can hit the highlights and maybe run down the list real quick. So I will somewhat defend this from a position of being the person in these shoes to some extent. It's difficult for most people to to engage with a game to the degree that is necessary to get a good video out of it, if one is really unenthused about that game. So if you and you know what, I feel like at this point, I can usually tell whether I think a game is worth being interested in or not for myself, right? I kind of know the kinds of things I like to see in games, like command and control systems and a variety of other things. I mean, this is certainly true. You can at least get a sense of how big the total play space is, which is something that isn't usually in the official description off of the back of the box. I tend to follow this procedure. If I'm interested in something, I will tend to look for unboxings first. I will tend to, just to kind of get a sense of what the thing looks like. Because honestly, you can tell you can potentially tell a lot by looking at a game, but you might also get a number of bad impressions. So thank you, DJ Flippy. Much appreciated. Professor Albion likes Callendale's videos. I assume that's who we're referring to here. Actual game experience. I think that's where Callendale shines. Is he is sharing his experience with the game, regardless of whether he ends up liking it or hating it at the end. And I think that's useful and interesting. It's not necessarily something that I want to watch all the time. How backed up am I here? About 6 minutes. Eric from Eric's Table Napoleonic Battles. Thanks for stopping by. Heads up of new games coming down the pipeline or onto some kind of crowdfunding could potentially be useful. I think we might be seeing something like that before too much longer here on this channel, that is. Excellent. So Roger Hemseth says, what use is a review that never finds a flaw? I mean, no product is, I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be a game. It is not perfect, and you should logically be able to find a flaw or downside or minus or whatever we're calling it at that point. I absolutely remembered this playthrough of the Victory Games classic Civil War. Great game, and I had fun with the game, even though I lost Grant in the first turn. I wish Enrico would get maybe a tripod and maybe some better lights. I kind of think he's got a head-mounted camera, which I have never really been comfortable with. I do have one, and a neck mount too, and I don't use them that often because they're fucking awkward. So, well, it's part of the experience, right? Yeah, cool. I've done a couple of OCS tutorials too, none of which I'm completely happy with, which is why I do have a plan to do more OCS tutorial material, but the time is always, that is a large project to do it any justice at all. And I never did find a workflow through doing it, right? That isn't just script the whole thing out in advance and work everything out of this enormous outline, because you end up making changes because something came up that you forgot about, right? So, Danny, I appreciate that very much so. Yeah, I remain pretty enthusiastic about Pacific War, to be completely honest. I think it is a singular game, and there's really nothing else quite like it. So, I mean, I guess I've seen this too, but those tends to be people I don't watch their videos anymore too, so. Jason W. enjoyed the Pushing Cardboard stream where he compared North African games, comparison and analysis. I would be happy to do something like this, but I need to understand the games, right? And that is an issue, right? All right, Brent is curious if there's stuff that people could get in both video and written, but they have a preference for a certain format depending on the kind of content. Written. So, actually, that's a great question. Does one prefer to if we're, regardless of what it is, if it's an instructional or an AAR or whatever it is, would you rather have it in written form? Sometimes I would rather have it in written form, actually, because I can normally read a lot faster than I can watch. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Yeah, some people have said this. I've never actually come right out and said this, but I have explained that it's difficult to do video on games you don't like because you don't like them. You're not that engaged with them. You would rather, unless you're doing this for a living and somebody's paying you to do it, then I guess that's different. But no, that has not yet occurred here at Ardwulf's Lair. So now I think it is important in most cases. There are exceptions, but they tend to be relatively rare. That unboxing not take an hour. The unboxing / interviews are a little bit different. And if the game is just that massive where it's going to take you 25 minutes to go through the entire thing to look at all the stuff that's in the box, then maybe it needs to be that long. But normally I think unboxing videos should be fairly concise. YouTubers very rarely mention price. This is a good point. I tend to, but there's probably some that aren't, that don't habitually. It's a good question. I think probably there's some kind of motivation from somebody. I don't know who this might be, but that they don't want to talk about it because it was expensive, and they don't want to seem like they're bragging that they bought this expensive game. For others, maybe it's the people watching their videos know what the game costs already. And I guess there's probably exceptions to this, but the exceptions inside Wargaming will be super duper rare, where we are not actually paid shills for any company either. We as a collective class of people making Wargaming content on YouTube. Excellent. Okay, that makes a lot more sense when you said it 25 minutes ago or whenever that was. Actually, it was 7 minutes ago. That's 8 minutes ago. That's not that bad. Dale Brady says that sometimes unboxing videos will give him the information he needs to decide not to buy it, but not necessarily to buy it. And this is probably for the healthy position to take, I would think. Well, okay. I can't really comment on this. I do get sometimes some publishers do send me some stuff. That does occur. It happens less than a lot of people might think. Let me put it this way. Stigler, I disagree. I think people might have watched that, and you could talk while you're talking about the physical components. You could talk about, hey, why did we design it this way? Why did we choose this battle? All that kind of stuff. I think people would totally watch that. I mean, you're not being asked to review your own game, right? So there we go. As I know Doug understands fully, the playthrough is much more work. But I really like a good playthrough video is gold. So another one that is really good at that, although he hasn't done a lot of content in the last couple of years, but he hasn't done no content either, is the Counterattack Playthrough series. Great channel. I was watching. He's the fellow that sold me on Battle for Normandy the first time. Actually, I'm like, ooh, this looks cool. So, yeah. So exactly, and everybody agrees here. If you add a designer commentary, think of it as a way to reflect on your own designer's notes, right? Convention videos, yeah, I'm kind of giving that some thought too in terms of what people like to see. I'd probably want to check for Origins to see if anybody actually watches the dealer's room walkthrough, but. I did have somebody walk up to me at Origins last year and thank me for doing the video. And this was not a Wargaming person. They were selling like potion bottles or something like that. They came up to me. They found me and thanked me for doing the Origins dealer's room walkthroughs. And apparently that was a factor in them deciding to come in the first place, which I thought was cool. I mean, then I felt bad because I made wisecracks throughout when watching walking past some of those booths. So the real-time playthroughs, I think the real-time playthrough is a really tough format to do well, to be honest. And you got to have the right game to make it work well. And both Heavy Cardboard and I tend not to play those kind of games. So playthrough stuff from Stuka Joe obviously is the gold standard on that on playthrough video content. We are all trying to be just as good at it as Stuka Joe is and failing. Well, so here's the thing with this, and I have been on the receiving end of this, and it is very aggravating. But if you are kind of pitching your video as an instructional video, I do think it is very important to get the rules right. And not that it's not probably okay, at least in some formats, although I didn't do this, when you don't get a rule to, like, you go figure it out, right? So we should. When mine shows up, Stigler, I might be giving you a call on this. Yeah, I'm upset about this too. It was a great privilege to interview Alan, and I was shocked as everybody else when he passed away, very unexpectedly. I've probably done this, Jonathan Dyer. Probably. Usually I can fix it in post. Usually. Because by the time I'm finished, I usually realize that I have in fact fucked something up. So, Carl Fung, thanks, Carl, for stopping by this evening. I just happen to have played a decent amount of OCS and feel pretty comfortable with it. So, Camp Sawyer, another one. Mr. Joe is here this evening. Stuka Joe, thanks for stopping by. I am delighted. I didn't email you back, and I meant to. I am delighted that the package arrived safely. Let me put it that way. John Weevil, thanks for stopping by. Listens to a ton of YouTube. What he listens to depends on what he's doing. If he's only really able to listen, then it's something like this. And I am pleased, I suppose, that the content here is viable to just listen to it and not look at my ugly puss for 2 hours. Anybody that can is probably worthy of some kind of commendation. So, all right, we're trying to catch up on to Chad here. So, Stigler, let's do it. Let's do a designer unboxing with Swords and Bayonets whenever it shows up over here, and you can answer all the questions then. How about that? Yes, but Eric, you have played all the games you have reviewed many times, so it's not a problem for you. The Player's Aid does a lot of great work, and I don't know if anybody's trying to dance around this or not, but they tend not to do videos on stuff that they didn't like, again, for the exact same reason, and I think either Brant or Alexander will tell you the same thing. So, as an example, it took me... Now, this is not a game I didn't like. It took me... I think that like third Paths of Glory video, instructional video that I did, it's something like 15 or 18 minutes long. It took me like 20 or 30 hours to make that video with all the pre-planning and shooting and then going to do reshoots because you missed something. And then you're going through all the things that you're saying and making sure that you didn't say anything stupid that people will take the wrong way or mess any rules up. It took like 30 hours to do that. If that was a game I did not like, it would have been extraordinarily difficult to have committed that amount of time. All right. Well, complaining. Well, I mean, I don't care about turning off publishers as such. I mean, prices are what prices are, right? I've always taken the position that we get as citizens of a capitalist society and participants in its capitalist economy, that to the extent that it is possible to do this, we do get to decide what to spend our money on. And it is up to you whether you want to buy, in this context, a game or not. If I don't really care particularly what your reasoning is. You don't like it? Cool. You don't like the designer? Okay. You don't like the publisher? Okay. It's too expensive. Okay. It's your money. What am I going to do? Tell you how to spend your money? Anyway. Yeah, Old School Tactical is another good one. Zilla Blitz is a great channel. Mike's a great guy as well. Chad Kennedy, it's been probably some time since you posted this super chat, but I really appreciate it. It says he would automatically subscribe to anyone who posts a series of playthrough videos of soloing Case Blue and GB2 turn by turn. Well, you might, but I suspect that those videos would get very low views, be very boring, and would take a long time. And I personally do not have the table to put this up. Even GB2 by itself, I can do. Case Blue by itself, I cannot. And the two together, I absolutely cannot. So my 4x8 table is just going to have to do. Now, you can get play out of both of these games without setting the whole thing up, too. So bear that in mind. This is a good thing. Yeah, Kyle appears to have gotten with the program as to what reviewers are actually talking about. A playthrough narrative. I can't do a reliable British accent, unfortunately. It keeps drifting into Australian because there is no one British accent. There's a million of them. So unless you are like paying sufficient attention to be able to tell the difference between them, it's going to be difficult to duplicate. Yes, and you know what? I've got some like parts and stuff. Somebody reached out to me about some parts for this, and I had it's a long-term project that I would like to do. Is basically mount some rails on the ceiling so that you can mount a camera on the rails and position the camera wherever you want on the table, and zoom in and all that stuff, which will require the camera is the most expensive piece of equipment there, as you would expect, but the rails themselves will cost a few $100s. It's not a crazy expensive project to do, other than potentially the camera. So all right. Perry mentions Eric as a person who's good at explaining rules, and Just a Guard. I will also endorse Just a Guard's videos. Yes, this is exactly. Editing is the. I mean, when I say 20 hours, I probably mean 5 hours writing a script, which is more like an outline than a script, and maybe less time than that, maybe more like 2 hours. And then maybe 2 or 3 hours doing the actual filming. And then the other 27 hours or so is probably spent in editing. And that sucks. Well, I mean, I don't like it. So some people, I know there are people who enjoy it, but I do not. So, yep, Glory Empire looks extremely promising. I will have a video on that at some point. Time's just really tight right now. Well, I pay basically no attention to the ratings on Board Game Geek anyway, and I believe their statistical model filters out a certain percentage of really high and really low votes, like 1s and 10s. So maybe their correction is making that negligible as long as a particular game has a decent number of votes. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, I could look at the top 10 wargames list on BGG and disagree wildly with probably 5 of the 10. So, you know, the BGG rating is good for, maybe it's interesting. I don't know. It's a measure of not really public response, but BGG, like heavily BGG engaged response, right? There's a self filter on that data set. Which is the people that use BGG all the time. I don't rate everything that I've played. I've rated a few things, but I don't rate everything. That would be crazy. Yeah, Joe, I remember when you started doing this, actually. And it's a good idea. And you have the backup of the book, and you can say, no, it says this in the book. Get lost. So, wow, Cal Harris reviews golf courses for a living. I went to one of the communication classes I took as like a general elective. Everybody that was in that class was like some kind of communication major or journalism or something like that. So it must have been a really weird choice for an arts and sciences major. And there was a guy in there, I should say a youngster in there, who was in his like third year of his turf grass management program. And his big goal in life was to graduate and get a job maintaining golf courses in Dubai. So there you go. And again, Joe does top flight work regardless. So it really helps to do, if you're going to do, this kind of thing, to have a pretty good familiarity with the battle itself as well, right? There are not every battle I would be comfortable talking about on that level, even where I have maybe played the battle. Actually, a great example is Antietam. I've played a couple of games on Antietam now. I don't feel like I know enough about the battle to talk intelligently about it from a historical perspective. Well, I think this is a completely fair comment. Nobody really seems to nobody that's doing quote unquote reviews in Wargaming seems to be like assigning any kind of numerical score as far as I know, except it maybe on BGG, but I don't care what the people on BGGs have to say particularly. Usually, I mean, there's certainly tons of quality people and content on there, and it's a very useful resource, but I mean, the opinions present on BGG are just that, opinions, right? I got opinions. I don't necessarily need somebody else's opinion. No, David, I am not going to make BGF. I will be dropping in on Wednesday evening. That is going to be the extent of my BGF participation. I may be there for an hour or so, and I'm really just going to drop some stuff off and say hello to people. So unfortunately, it was just not in the cards this year. In fact, I think my expectation is that, with the possible exception of Con on the Cob, because it's 20 minutes away, that's in like October. And that's a possible. I really need to find out what happens at that event. Origins will probably be my only other event for the remainder of the year, would be my thought. So there you go. Christoph de Klerk has had Fields of Fire down for 5 weeks. That's a long time. So I would love it if Fire and Movement magazine made a comeback, but I doubt very much that there's a viable economic path for that. Maybe it could be done as like an online thing. That's possible. But then you've got you've got, there's a dynamic there that creates some challenges, right? Let's say I'm going to create an online wargaming magazine called Fire and Schmovement or something like that. And okay, who's going to write the content? What kind of cadence are we going to have? Is it going to be monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly? Let's assume quarterly, because that sounds like a relaxed pace. Who's going to write the content? Do I have to write a whole magazine's worth of content in a quarter? I know that ain't happening. So I got to find other people to do content. Am I paying them to do that? If I am not, then it is volunteer work, and A, it is harder to find people who will do this unpaid, and B, I will be sort of with, volunteer stuff. What am I going to do? Yell at the volunteer because we didn't meet the deadline? I mean, I would have trouble with that. So I completely endorse this sentiment, and I think it would be very challenging to actually bring it back. That doesn't mean impossible. Somebody that knows how to do those things can probably make that happen. I do agree with Jason W. here. A review doesn't necessarily need to be good versus bad. It should be an analysis of how the model operates and the resulting dynamics. As long as, the opinion the opinion at the end of the review is the least important part of the review. Did they like it? Did they not like it? Or somewhere in between? Fine. But in the meantime, again, if the review is a good review, then you should see some of what Jason W. is getting at here, which is to get a little bit of an understanding of what it is modeling and how it is modeling it. So, Mark Hodgkinson, I appreciate this. I don't feel like I'm doing a particularly good job. Would folks like to see like more news items? I don't really want to read off Tuesday Newsday every Monday because it's, it happens on Tuesday. So that would be a problem. Well, David, I'm punching 30 Years War right now for delivery at BGF. The Crimea is already punched, fortunately. So, and in fact, one of the battles in Crimea is missing some pieces. It is marked. So don't run that one. So thank you to all of the individuals, and Brant especially, who set it up for those things to happen, even though I'm not making it. So, and Justin is just a really good fella too. So quality fella. Well, eventually, I mean, this is a complicated problem, right? If AI could do it, the fact is, AI is not as good as as a decent human opponent. Certainly, in most cases, in some cases, you've got like what are really expert systems, like the chess, the Deep Blue type chess machines, and there's Go machines, checkers machines, and all that stuff now too, that are like explicitly designed and very expensive to play those particular games. I did one errata vid, which was the outtakes video, and I don't know if anybody. I don't even know what the views were like on that. Thinking about it, Jim Wazarski does real-time playthroughs on Tabletop Simulator. Excellent. This is excellent. I'm glad to hear that as well. So, and unfortunately, I won't be there this year either. So I think we're just, it is something of a relief to not have the convention pressure for most of the rest of the year. But Origins, I should be there. So. All right. So Perfidious Albion, they have had these flowcharts forever. And it, people are still fairly confused by it. So if I felt comfortable with the ASL rules, I would do video on this kind of thing, because I don't feel like I'm terribly comfortable with the ASL artillery rules. I didn't feel like I was comfortable with it 6 or whatever it was, 5 years ago now, which is the last time I played ASL. So I feel even less comfortable with it now. But you do have Starter Kit to get you moving in the direction of actually using those rules. And I've found this to be the case too. Hold Messerschmitt mentions Liz did Pavlov's House, which I've played and which is a solid game. I think I've done a video on the digital version of Pavlov's House on the digital channel. I didn't do much on the digital channel, but I did that. And it's a cool game. Now these have to be individually bagged for the battles. So we will be, these bags are really not big enough. What do I got in here? I got plenty of bags. It's just a matter of where they're at. These work. I don't like the baggies to be too tight, and especially in this case when I'm squeezing the baggies into a flat. So, all right. So Scott Bell, seen a few playthroughs where it's obviously barely the rules before playing. I mean, I've done this to some, well, maybe not quite, but I have usually felt like I understood the rules sufficiently when I embark upon such an endeavor, and I sometimes am proven wrong toward the end. But tell McKenna I said hello, Brant. Where are these going? All right, this is Lutzen, so I'm going to put Lutzen in its own baggie here. Big baggie. I got baggies of every different size. And you know what? I get a lot of mileage out of the free baggies that GMT includes in the games too. I mean, they're not really free. We all know that, right? And once again, this is a lesson that people doing digital games have learned time and time again. And if they haven't, or if they've forgotten, they will be reminded again soon that sometimes bugs just don't emerge until you expose the game to a larger pool of players that you have that is practically viable to play test in many cases. So. Oh, well, I didn't. I'm not sure I watched their review of Thunder on the Mississippi. I haven't played Thunder on the Mississippi yet, but I expect great things from it, to be completely frank. So, thanks, Brant. Much appreciated. Don't forget that the Player's Aid also runs the blog, which eats up a considerable amount of the labor involved as well. All right. Oh, well, fair enough. Thank you. I've had this happen too. I don't. Have I ever had this happen on video? I'm not positive that I have, but I've absolutely had it happen before. I was rolling up. I was trying to minimize RPG talk on the show tonight, but I was rolling up a character in the new Rollmaster Unified rules, and you basically roll a bunch of percentile dice, and then you got 10 stats to assign those numbers to, and it's a little complicated, and I'm not going to explain it. But in any case, you roll 30 10-sided dice, or 30 percentile pairs, I should say, and anything under 11 or 11 or less, you re-roll. I rolled spectacularly on every re-roll. Where I re-rolled it, it was like 90 plus. And I looked at the final stats, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure this has given me a good impression as to whether this mechanic actually works or not. So, because I believe I have rolled in an aberrant way. This is great, yeah, and I boned up on your live stream before going to play La Bataille too, so I agree with all those folks. So Eric is doing fabulous work over at Eric's Table Napoleonic Battles. All right, and as Joe points out, and as I kind of hinted at earlier, there are some games that are a little more YouTube friendly than others for a variety of what you'd call logistical reasons, I suppose. Receive. So the problem with this is there's a billion English accents other than received pronunciation. Which one are you listening to at the moment? Because they can be hard to tell the difference, and you will get tripped up. I get tripped up anyway. All right. Yeah, Danny, thanks for mentioning this. Please don't forget to hit the like button. What time is it? I am going to... I did roll an 01 as well, and I re-rolled it, and it was like a 96. So, all right. So we are going to take a brief siesta here while we hear from our official sponsor, our good friends at Noble Knight Games, and I will try and get caught up on the chat a little bit.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
All right, big thanks to Noble Knight once again for being our sponsor. It is much appreciated. There is a link in the video description, which is an affiliate link with Noble Knight, which if you buy something that you were probably going to buy anyway from them, and don't forget the free shipping. I always manage to get the free shipping. I think it's over $150 free shipping in the US, and I think it's over $250 elsewhere. But, if shipping is what's really killing you, where you live, Noble Knight does have a free shipping option, and you and a couple of buddies can band together and form a team to put an order in and get free shipping. But if you use that link, then I will get a little kickback in the form of store credit, which will eventually be turned into currently the decision version of War in Europe, and next to something that will be super duper exciting. So I got caught up. I didn't get caught up. Alistair wonders if machine learning could end up being useful to do a first edit of videos to remove sneezes, and coughs. This is already happening. The platform that I was paying for a little while to do the little shorts actually has a function that will take those out for you. It doesn't work perfectly, but it's kind of a decent start. And John Longshore watched somebody going to garage sales. So just off the top of my head, in the last week or so, I've watched a bunch of math, science, history videos, that kind of stuff, but fair number of gaming videos. I'm kind of glued to the gaming video channels that I like, so I kind of watch them when they come out, but that doesn't necessarily consume like a lot of my YouTube watch time. Sometimes I'll put a YouTube video on in the car and not watch it, but listen to it if it's this kind of thing, or an interview with some physicist or something like that. But I've also in the last week watched somebody tearing apart a lawnmower and repairing that they found on the side of the road. I watched a video about somebody repairing guitars, for example. I watch an absolutely ridiculous variety of YouTube content. This is why I have different YouTube channels, just to watch stuff. Anyway, I will look forward to seeing you and everybody else at Origins. So, Roger was the principal individual behind a firing movement. All right. There are certain ways of showing a game that Vassal is really good for, and other ways that it is not. It will not show you the physical quality of the components. So anyway. Yes, and Brant knows about this too, because Brant has been through all of this stuff. Well, right. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And unless maybe you're not paying, maybe you're offering an incentive of some kind. It's really hard to like manage that from like a management perspective. If you are managing people who are doing it for free anyway, I think that's very difficult. So, it does occur occasionally. It hasn't lately. HU1644 refers to the current format as like a talk show with multiple guests. Do you mean this show or the Chit Show? For clarity. And that was... I'm more behind now than I was before the break. All right, I'm going to try and buzz through stuff here. Kevin Featherly says that it would be fun to have a YouTube Wargame reviewer emerge as the analog of the old Cream magazine-style rock reviewer. Cynical, smart, and snotty, but passionately in love with the genre. He nominates Stigler. It's unfortunately we had this. His name was Richard Berg. And I can think of nobody off the top of my head that I would rather give this responsibility to other than Stigler. The Mikey of Wargaming. I've just watched... Andrew had a thumbnail where the cat, of course, predictably walked in front of it, and like the cat's... You don't see anything but the cat's tail, and the cat's tail's like right in front of his eyes. It's like a perfectly framed shot. I'm positive he picked that shot intentionally. Yes. So this is in their newsletter as well. So GMT is not like going there as an exhibitor, but they have an arrangement with Enterprise Games, who represents GMT there. So basically anything that is currently available will be available through them. There's a lot of GMT events. Jason Carr will be at Origins, and I think maybe some other people too. I'm not sure. So... And as Brant points out, they're going to have 3 tables of GMT stuff running all weekend. Only 1 slot of which will be run by me. So, all right. Plus, Jason Matthews is going to be there, and there's going to be like a lot of folks that have designed or done work with GMT there. So, I have received the ASL Starter Kit magazine. It is still in the MMP official baggie. I haven't touched it yet. I haven't had time. So, and remember that, as we talked about last week, if you buy the digital stuff, it helps GMT out as well. So, oh yeah. So I was wondering what, because I didn't talk that I knew Mo was doing these, and I didn't discuss the details with him. And so I was just wondering in the back of my head, I thought Mo was going to do some videos on this Air and Armor stuff. And then I asked him about it. He's like, oh yeah, they all launched, all 60 videos launched this morning. I'm like, what the fuck? What? You dole these out over the span of months, man. I wouldn't have just dumped them all at the same time, but that's, there's reasons to do it that way too. So big props to Mo for managing that massive endeavor. Oh, well, cool. If that's the case, I got to meet Gene and Rachel and Luke at SD Hist, which was cool. So Gene is not as tall as I imagined him to be. So that's always the thing I notice right away when you notice that somebody is far taller than you expected the first time meeting them, or far shorter. John Butterfield is far taller. I was shocked by how tall John Butterfield is. I didn't have this impression, but I haven't really discussed it with those guys in detail either. So, and I'm going to miss them at BGF, so that can happen. This is Rollmaster, not Traveler, but you don't die in character creation. I will. It's this Thursday. I'm going to try to get a Traveler video out for Thursday. It might be a minute and a half long of me just talking about how awesome Traveler is. We'll see. So. You're doing it again, Danny. All right, Brian Salahor says AI can do lots for audio editing support. And again, I can believe this in terms of just like taking out extraneous sounds and stuff like that. I think that's a great, I think a completely reasonable use of. We're not talking about the same kind of thing that ChatGPT is, though, necessarily. So. This is true too, but I, not never, but usually manage to, it's normally not very difficult for me to find $150 worth of stuff that I would like to own on Noble Knight's website. So I feel a little weird about this. I've got this channel for war games and RPGs. I've got the digital channel for digital war games and other digital games, which I've done a little content for, not much. I've got a book channel, which I've done a few videos for, but I have made no progress on in the last couple of months. And I've got an RPG channel, which I've done nothing on but watch people on. And I've got a science channel. And then I've got, and the only video channels I've done content for are this one, and occasionally I'll do something for the digital channel or the book channel. And then I've got like another channel that's like just everything else, which means it's mostly food woodworking videos, some outdoor videos, the person that tears small engines apart, that stuff, or fixes cars, that kind of stuff, just random things. So possibly. I know there are like hearing aids that can, I don't know if we call them hearing aids or not, but there's like a translating earbuds now that I've seen advertised fairly recently. So maybe not understand a heavy accent, but maybe speaking in their native language might be less of a barrier in the near future too. So Brant, thanks for stopping by when you left 20 minutes ago. And the pretentious use of, he's anti-tweezer too. Stigler is about to embark on an anti-tweezer crusade. So folks, I want everybody to package up your most loved and most heavily used tweezers, hopefully with a bunch of grime in the little cracks there, and mail them to Stigler. How about that? Hey, sometimes you got to take the glasses off to see. So, Yeah, I haven't even looked at it yet. I do want to look at it. MMP got it to me pretty quick. It took them a few days because I didn't pre-order it or even order it like in the first couple of days. The digital channel is in the link tree. The other channels, there's no content on. The RPG channel will be the next channel that might get content. But there isn't yet. When there is, there will be an announcement here. So it is RPG Digest, all one word. If you search that, you'll find it. But I have not prepared a launch for it yet. So I don't. This is actually the only, other than this in Ardwulf Digital, which is the video game thing, I just don't have a an alter ego or whatever you say. So I think Stigler is off the hook here. I mean, this totally works, right? And, you know, there was certainly one time where I just had the one, but then I started this channel and it was a separate thing. And now I got 8 YouTube channels, whatever it is. It's like 6 or 7. So, but again, most of those are just for, I am in the mood to watch videos about math and science. I will go to that channel and it will show me a selection of math and science videos that I could potentially be interested in. So I'm making YouTube work for me by doing that. It is almost certainly more trouble than it is worth. That said, Bob worked in local radio for over 20 years in many capacities, including the guy in the big chair and managing things. And he's impressed with how I've been doing the same thing here. Well, cool. I appreciate that. I feel like it's a lot to juggle. Let me put it that way. And we are not a big operation. The wife's been helping me a little bit, and I think we're going to do that a little more, and that might result in some more content and better content, hopefully, because she can do video editing, and I suck at it. And I hate it. So, well, good. There is a dexterous skill involved in using the tweezers, right? So I have been congratulated. I have backed the Singularity campaign. Now, there's 4 levels to back it at. This is the latest Big Traveler campaign, and I should do a video on it, is what I should do. But I backed it at the Glass Counselor level, which is basically all the new stuff. The level higher than that is just like all the new stuff, plus some of the old stuff, all of which I already have. So, also mail Stigler your for security, so that the tweezers are not damaged. Make sure that you package them, fill the whole box up with old counter trimmings. So he will love it. You mean WKRP? I mean, I am in Ohio after all. So I didn't watch much WKRP as a kid because I wanted to watch Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers instead. But, and it was on when I was a kid. There have been multiple revivals, but I have seen some episodes since, and it was a funny show. I can't name the episodes or anything like that, so we're not going to try to do that. So, all right. Dr. Johnny Fever. I can't grow the facial hair of Howard Hessman, unfortunately. I don't think Decision has their own branded boxes. I might be wrong about that, unless that is a brand new innovation from Doc and Company. But if you have a Decision box handy, then yes, absolutely put the tweezers in it as well. I'm going to get you an autograph picture. I'm going to get him an autograph picture of Doc at Origins. That's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to send it to him, and he's going to be enraged. It's going to be glorious. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. We bought WKRP Turkey Day t-shirts for Thanksgiving last year, actually. Scotch Advice, Eric Ludy. We are about on time for derailment, so it's all good. So, Affordable Peat. So I've had both of these. I've had the Peat Monster, and I've had Ardbeg Wee Beastie. I think the Peat, they're both pretty heavily peated. But that doesn't necessarily mean exactly the same thing for every different kind of whisk from every different distillery, right? So Ardbeg is traditionally has, if you measure the phenol levels in the whiskey, Ardbeg traditionally has the highest. But to me, to my palate, it does not taste as peaty, or at least as like dimensionally peaty, as Kalila or Lagavulin or Ledeg, or which I'm told is pronounced Lecheg, or Lafroig. So to me, all of those have more peat character than Ardbeg tends to have. That said, I think the regular Ardbeg 10 is good. The Wee Beastie is not terribly expensive. It is a peat bomb if you want just a lot of peat. It's a bit one-dimensional in my opinion, but it's not bad. I've certainly consumed an entire bottle of it with no assistance whatsoever. So, well, would you, I imagine he has got you blocked, Stigler. All right. Some of the other Ardbeg does a lot of specific, like specific bottlings, and one of the reasons distilleries do that is to like get rid of stuff that's in the warehouse. They'll come up with a blend that is palatable using stuff that they need to get rid of, and they will sell it as Gaboogaboolan or whatever they call it for that particular year. So, and Ardbeg does a lot of that. But the regular Ardbeg 10 is very good. The Wee Beastie is decent. It's like I said, it's kind of one-dimensional. The Peat Compass Box in general makes very good blends, and the Peat Monster specifically is very good. I'm not sure what it's priced at nowadays, but I would choose, if I was given two separate glasses to drink right now, I would choose the Peat Monster rather than Wee Beastie. Let me put it that way, if the prices are comparable. Some people will get bent, or the dice, and I've probably been bad about this because often, not always, but often I'll pull the dice out of a game. I like Lagavulin a great deal. So if you want affordable peat, I will also make the statement that these are going to be one-dimensional, but they're both drinkable. Bowmore Legend is pretty inexpensive, and McClellan's. There's like a Highland. So McClellan's is is a label. It's not a distillery. It is owned by Morris and Bowmore. So the McClellan's Isla is Bowmore, and the McClellan's Highland is whatever Highland distillery they own. And there's at least one more. I think there's a Speyside and possibly a Lowland as well. And those are very inexpensive. If you can get black or blackest grouse, it's pretty good. Honestly, if you can get, Johnny Walker Black is good. I like the double black better. You get a little more peat in the double black. You get not too much peat in the regular black. And blackest grouse or black grouse is very inexpensive. I love Lagavulin, but it is also the most expensive of everything I have named. So, Ardbeg's Lair. Did I say that? I might have. It's possible. I have had 2 scotches now. So, or is this 3? I'm not sure. Hey, I have done the counter clipping videos. I've never done tweezer videos. So I I never mix whiskey and cola. I don't like cola. That said, if I am handed a say a Coke with Captain Morgan in it, I will probably drink that. I don't like cola, but in general, this is a good idea. I will drink the good stuff neat, and if I have stuff I don't like as much, I will make a cocktail with it eventually. There you go. Lafroig and Lagavulin. Kalila is the other of the big peat monsters off of the Isle of Isla. Ardbeg is there too. Bunahab and Brooklady. There's at least one that I'm not remembering because if you search for Traveler with 2 L's, Singularity, That is it. I have had the Talisker Distillers Edition. It's very good. Honestly, though, I like the Talisker. I think it was called Talisker Sky. That wasn't as good as the regular expression of Talisker, in my opinion, which is really good. Talisker is not Isla, though. Talisker is, so picture Scotland. I'm not going to be able to reverse this in my head, so you just have to. This is Scotland, and these are the islands off the coast of Scotland. Isla is one of those islands, and then on the same coast, if you were able to see far enough away, you would see the coast of Scotland, the west coast of Scotland. That is where Talisker is. No, that is Oban. Talisker is on the Isle of Skye, which is another one of the islands, and the islands tend to be peaty. Yeah, you can also search for Mongoose Publishing. Yeah, very good, very good. I like Johnny Walker Black. Johnny Walker Red, I wouldn't drink except in a cocktail. I wouldn't even drink it on the rocks. I will drink Dewar's, the regular Dewar's, on the rocks. Johnny Walker Red, no. So, yeah, I don't always put water in the whiskey, but sometimes I do. And sometimes I feel like it's a good idea. It will allow the whiskey to breathe a little bit better. I almost always drink Scotch neat. I would like to explore Scotch cocktails. But that said, that is when I will go buy myself a bottle of Bowmore Legend or McClellan's. If it was supposed to be a smoky Scotch. So it's funny you should. I almost picked Ledaig tonight, but I'm like, Ledaig is one of my top 5 whiskeys. Okay, and you cannot buy it in Ohio. I do have a bottle of it, which is about 2/3 full, that I picked up in Wisconsin when we were up there visiting our good friends at Noble Knight. But I'm not even sure it's permissible to ship whiskey in the mail. Not that I haven't received whiskey in the mail. But I love Ledaig. So the thing with Ledaig is it's another one of those like west side of Scotland. It's not an Isla distillery. But Ledaig is not the distillery. The distillery is Tobermory. And you could buy Tobermory, again, not in Ohio. And you could buy Ledaig. Now, Ledaig is the one where they smoke the malted barley over peat, okay? But the entire distillery distills water that's running through a peat bog. So even the regular Tobermory tastes a little bit peaty, even though it's not smoked at all. To me, the Ledaig has like this incredibly multi-layered, many-dimensional peat flavor that I really, really like. I have had my experiences with cheap Scotch in the past, and they were not great experiences. Let us put it that way. I would like to do a Rob Roy. I've never had a Rob Roy. I have had a whiskey sour, and I like a good whiskey sour too. So here's the thing, though. I endorse anybody drinking whatever they want, however they want. If they want to mix their Lagavulin and Coke, I think that's weird, but you bought the Lagavulin. What am I going to tell you how to drink it for? That's absurd. So Ardbeg 5, I have not tried. I have tried a couple of Japanese whiskeys, single malt whiskeys, and I can't say I'm a huge fan of the style, but I've had like 2 of them, and they weren't bad. I would like to explore it more, but I don't know where to start. And the Japanese whiskeys I can get here in Ohio tend to be extremely limited and fairly expensive. So I have heard that there was a point at which Inverhouse was good. I simply do not put ice in the Scotch. Bourbon is a different story. I will more frequently drink bourbon on the rocks or over with just a few ice chips in it, which is good because my ice maker makes little tiny ice chips. So, and yeah, exactly what DJ Flippy's saying here. It's if you like drinking Jack and Coke, drink Jack and Coke. Cool, I don't care. I do tend to think that people who have had like either a bad experience with Scotch or who have tasted Scotch and said, "Wow, this is nasty," probably might find that there is, in fact, a Scotch out there that they like, because there's an enormous variety of different flavors available in Scotch. Also, generally remember that the peat will tend to mellow as whiskey ages. So if you're looking for a peat-forward experience, then you probably want to be in the 10 to 15 year range, maybe even as low as 8. But, you know, your mileage may vary on that. The point is that when it is good, several drinks in, that's possible. That is possible. Look at that. Yamazaki, I think, is one that I have had. I've never bought it. I'm not sure I've ever even seen it in a store. But we at Pennsic one year, we had Scotch. We had a Scotch guy. And so everybody became a Scotch guy, and we had a lot of Scotch. We would typically have like 100 different bottles of Scotch in camp. And usually it was at least the decent Scotch and not the Cuddy Sarks and the Grants and shit like that. That was the occasion on which I tasted Yamazaki. On a different occasion, at I believe a different Pennsic, I got to have Macallan 30. Boy, is that good. And it is ridiculously expensive nowadays. Well, you know, the Scotch distilleries buy them all because the American bourbon producers can't reuse their barrels and call whatever comes out of it bourbon. Legally, bourbon has to be in a fresh barrel that's never held other whiskey. Most types of whiskey do not have that restriction, so the barrels go offshore to Scotland and Ireland and to various other places. Lagavulin so I've got the Lagavulin 16. Lagavulin's a special case, though. It's fairly peaty, but I would argue that it is mellow. And remember that the age statement is just the youngest whiskey in the bottle too. It is a blend of whiskeys from that distillery if it is a single malt. But if unless it is like a single cask, which is, you generally know that you're buying a single cask whiskey if you are. It is going to be a blend of stuff from that distillery, and that's what makes it a single malt. If it is blended from multiple distilleries, then it's just a blend. And blends can be very good. There's nothing wrong with blends. They tend to be fairly easy to drink, for example. That's why they blend them that way. They blend them to be easy to drink. That's why Johnny Walker Black is good, because it is blended to be good. And they use Scotch from all over the place in it. And I believe Kalila is the peated Scotch that is used in the Johnny Walker Black blend. This might actually be a bit on the low side for Macallan 30. It is crazy. I've seen the Nika or whatever it is. I have not tried it, however. I like booze, though. I got booze here. Booze. So, Lagavulin 16 is, here in Ohio, is approximately $100. That's last I looked at it, which has been at least a couple of months. It was a little cheaper in Wisconsin when I bought my bottle there, and that's about 3/4 full still, too. I am comfortable. I'm comfortable in my ability to buy whiskey from Total Wine. Let me put it that way. Because I've been in there. That's where I got these 2 bottles. And now that we're back, I wish I would have bought like 6 more bottles. But their Scotch is expensive, so there's that. No, we're not doing that. So Macallan, this is why Macallan is so just generally agreeable and good to drink. Is the sherry. Macallan ages in sherry casks. It's really good. So, but it's overpriced now. So, I bet this might take a little bit of work. I'm not saying I could just come up with a whiskey that Stigler would like off the top of his head, but I bet there's one out there that he wouldn't mind, and it might be Macallan. I did not even speak to the sales representatives at Total Wine. I walked in, said, "Where is the scotch?" They pointed me to aisle number whatever. I went there, grabbed the 2 bottles that I knew I wanted, and went to the register, and that was it. I required no assistance from I felt like, what's his name from Parks and Recreation at that place. This is totally true. I am generally resistant to buying super duper expensive booze. That about $100 is about as high as I'll go. And I feel like I feel like it's an indulgence when I do that. Normally, if I buy a bottle of scotch, it's normally in the $60, $70 range, sometimes a little less. Ron Swanson made the show, to be completely honest. I have not had Johnny Walker Blue. Okay, so here's the thing. The fine oak is not the same stuff as the regular Macallan. If it says fine oak on it, it's a different blend than the regular Macallan expression. So I would watch that out. And it's the cheaper stuff, right? It's the stuff they don't want people to want to drink as much because the Macallan doesn't have enough inventory. So I did not buy the Anchorman branded scotch or the, I think they did some Game of Thrones branded scotch too. I didn't buy that either. Excellent. Target for tonight. Oh yeah, and that's I mean, what am I going to do? Take it apart? I'd feel like an asshole if he can't have this valuable thing that I got from Dollar General. So I'm happy you're pleased with those are cool counter boxes. And I wish it was a Dollar General. Maybe, I forget. A dollar store had those at one point. I would like to try the Johnny Walker Green, but remember that the green, at least, I think they've changed the recipe on. It used to be what used to be called a pure malt, which is a blend from different distilleries, but usually blends from different distilleries will include grain whiskey, so not whiskey made from barley, so corn or rice or whatever, to kind of thin it out, right? Johnny Walker Green used to be the opposite kind of blend, which was all malt scotch, all malted barley scotch. But I don't know about this, actually. There are like things you can look at to there are non-alcoholic spirits. Let me put it that way. I have not investigated this at all. I've been told there's some decent non-alcoholic beers now. I do feel like if you are drinking a non-alcoholic cocktail, I mean, why not just get fruit juice? I mean, unless you don't like fruit juice. I mean, I'll be happy to drink a big glass of grapefruit juice rather than a cocktail I don't like or don't want to drink for whatever reason. All right. And if anybody else loves scotch, then you by all means hit the button. The colors are pushed hard just because it's a marketing thing. I think the Johnny Walker whiskeys to keep an eye on are the red, if you want a very inexpensive scotch that is okay for mixing. And the black is good just to drink, neat, with a little bit of water on the rocks, no problem. I think the double black is a little bit better. I think it's a little more flavorful. Anything above that, Johnny Walker, I don't know. I don't think I would buy anything above that, to be honest, in price point. Because what I could do instead, as somebody who likes scotch, is take that same amount of money and buy a single malt, and maybe it's a single malt that's new to me, and I'll get to experience that distillery stuff for the first time, right? So, Dollar Tree, that was it. Thank you, Vince Ree. Yeah, I haven't seen him in quite a while either. Oh yeah, no, it's a serious art form. That's not wrong at all. So, and yeah, those were the same trays. Mo has also endorsed the use of those trays, and for certain games, they are really very useful. I have very few of them left. I bought them. I would clean Dollar Tree out regularly well, not regularly in the sense of going every week, but I mean, I would go to a Dollar Tree every couple of months and buy whatever they had. And usually it was somewhere like 4 or 5, 6, something like that. And I have used them, most of them. But they can be super duper handy. I use them for things like coin games and stuff like that, where I don't really like need a full-size counter tray. We do have other options now from like Cube for Me or the Aegis half-size trays that we didn't have when I first saw those trays. So, all right, Kyle Harris, thanks for stopping by. We are now caught up to the chat. I have tried a Trappist ale, and it was great. Not sure what brand it was, but it was a Trappist Belgian ale, and it is fairly heavy. I tend to like fairly heavy beers. That's one reason I don't drink much beer. So, if you mean the tape, then yes. I mean, it is possible that the best beer in the world on planet Earth is made in Belgium. Let me put it that way. The Belgians are really good at making beer. It also tends to be reasonably strong. So I don't necessarily like every Belgian style. Like the triples, for example, it's just a little too thin for me. But like the Trappist ales, most of the stuff from Unibrew up in Canada, which is a Belgian-style brewery, are excellent that I've tried. I haven't tried all their stuff either, but... All right. Well, I believe we have done all the counter clipping that is going to be accomplished this evening. I have actually had this happen. I don't remember who this was, but somebody, I was on an internet forum, and another person was on an internet forum, and they were in Virginia, and I was in Ohio, and I could get Great Lakes Brewery, and they could get Dogfish Head, which is out of Delaware, but they could get it. In particular, they could get the Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA, which you couldn't sell in Ohio at the time, and possibly still because the alcohol content was too high. I sent them a 12-pack, 12 beers from Great Lakes Brewery, which is a very good local Cleveland brewery. And they sent me 2 regular-sized beer bottles of Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA. And I drank, and it was great. I drank that first one and said, wow, that was awesome. I'm going to have the other one. And I stood up and sat right back down. Said, maybe I'll wait for a special occasion or something. So the thing sits in the pantry, cold, cool, dark place, right? Sits in the pantry for maybe a couple of years, 2 years, perhaps. It wasn't any longer than that. So I took it to Pennsic. It was a big deal the first time I went to Pennsic. So I took that and opened it up. It was ass. All the hops had died, and it was all malt. It was terrible. I thought it would age well. It did not. So, but if you can get it, the 120-minute IPA, which when I saw it, it was like $50 a 4-pack. It's good stuff. I haven't had Moosehead in a long time. I don't drink very much beer nowadays, though. Like I said, it's too filling, and I don't like that. Folks, I noticed that a lot of people have bailed. I have tried Shamai, but I've tried La Fin du Monde as well. And I liked both of those things. So I think that we are going to... Oh, nice. If you can get... I mean, the 60 is fine. The 90 is very good, and the 120 was really good. I would try that if you have the chance. I still cannot get it here in Ohio. So, folks, I think we're going to wrap things early here this evening. I think I've said about everything I wanted to say. I feel like I've gotten some insights listening to everybody here this evening. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I do have a very early start tomorrow. So I would like to thank everybody very good. Everybody pile on over to Eric's Table Napoleonic Battles to see whatever he's doing. It's probably Labatai or BAR or something like that over there as soon as we're done here. Back in the day, we drank things like Keystone and Natural Light and Old Milwaukee and stuff like that. When it was whatever you could get. I do not drink whatever I can get anymore. So, all right, everybody have a great rest of the evening. Sorry for wrapping it a little early, but my throat's getting really dry, and I've had more scotch than I had necessarily planned to, and I know when I've had enough. So, everybody, have a great rest of the night. We'll see you all again soon.